Welcome again to Dave Kennon's Retirement Revolution podcast. This week we are going to talk about a very hot topic among baby boomers and retirees, and that topic is required minimum distributions, or RMDs. And we're going to talk today about why RMD planning is a bunch of malarkey. A bunch of malarkey. That's right. That's what I said. Today we're going to talk about required minimum distributions. We're going to start with just a basic overview of what are required minimum distributions, and then I'm going to talk to you about why really required minimum distributions are distracting ourselves from the real issue. This is going to be good. This could be transformative for you. I mean, over the next 15 to 20 minutes, you might actually, what you learn during this podcast could very possibly change the way that you view the rest of your financial life. I know that's a bold promise, but I'm going to make it happen. So let's start with required minimum distribution planning. Why am I talking about this? Because I am always asked about it. It's a big concern that retirees have, and in its purest form, what a required minimum distribution is when you retire, the government, the IRS, forces you at a certain point in time to begin withdrawing money from your retirement accounts. This would include 401ks, IRAs, anything like that. It does not include Roth IRAs, just 401k, IRA, SEPs, simple IRAs, any retirement account except a Roth IRA. And why people get so hung up on this is they don't like the fact that the government at age 70 and a half, that's the age that you have to start taking money out of these accounts, it bothers people. People don't like the fact that the government is forcing them to take money out of their retirement accounts when they don't want to. Because when you take money out of a retirement account, what happens? You have to pay taxes on it. And that's exactly why the required minimum distribution law is in place. The government does not want you indefinitely deferring taxation on these retirement accounts, so they make you start to take money out at age 70 and a half. And again, why I'm bringing up this subject is whenever I sit down with somebody, just as a generic example, I've sat down with thousands of people over the past 17 years. But I usually ask the same question. I say, when are you going to start spending money from your retirement accounts? And maybe half the time, a lot of the time, I hear the answer, well, I guess I'm going to start taking money from these accounts when the government makes me. All right. I can understand why you would say that. I empathize with that kind of thinking, but I think it's misguided. I think we're missing the point, but we're going to get into that. Let's look a little quickly at the technical aspects of RMDs. I'm going to call them RMDs going forward. So when you turn 70 and a half, you have to start taking money out of your retirement accounts. And at age 70, the first year you are forced to take money out of these accounts, the government makes you take out 3.6%. So if you have $100,000 in your IRA, you have to take out $3,600 and pay taxes on it. Now, a lot of people are surprised at how low that number is. A lot of people have the impression that the government makes you take a lot of money out. It's not. It's a very low percentage, 3.6%. Now, that percentage goes up each year, just a little bit, like 0.2% per year. For example, at age 75, you have to take out 4.3% of your account value. At age 80, you have to take out 5.3% of your account value. One common misconception that people have is, let's say you have $100,000 and you have it in some high dividend paying stocks, things like that. And during the year, this is just a hypothetical example, your account grows from $100,000 to $104,000, and that $4,000 are dividends, and you take the dividends from your investments. That counts. The government is not saying you have to take out 3.6% of your principal. They're just saying you need to take out 3.6%. So a lot of people that are, have their money invested and the money is working for them, oftentimes they just need to take out the dividends and interest to satisfy the required minimum distribution. Now, if you do not take out the proper amount for your required minimum distribution, there is a 50% tax penalty. That's right, 50% tax penalty on anything you don't take out that you were supposed to. So if you have $100,000 in your IRA and you take out and you're supposed to take out $3,600 and you don't take anything out, they're going to penalize you $1,800 or half of what you should have taken out. So because the penalty is so severe, it does get a lot of press. It gets a lot of, again, that's why people are so concerned with it, because they don't want to screw it up, because they certainly do not want to have to pay such an extreme, draconian penalty, right? I can understand that. It almost seems unfair. A lot of retirees express frustration when it comes to required minimum distributions. But let's think about this for a second, because every time this subject comes up, I get a little jazzed up, right? I get a little fired up, because required minimum distributions are taking our focus away from what you actually need to be focusing on, which is when you retire, these retirement accounts are designed to give you your lifestyle once you retire. Do you really want, Uncle Sam, do you really want the government dictating when and how much money you spend in retirement? No, you don't. It doesn't make any sense. Again, we are missing the point. With these required minimum distribution concerns are taking away from the real question. And what is the real question? Well, the retirement revolution addresses the real question. In fact, the retirement revolution, the entire revolution is based around this concept. Now, what concept am I talking about? The concept is, how do you get the most life from your money? The other concept is, most people wait way too long to start spending the money that they save specifically for retirement. So if somebody's concerned that the government is forcing them to take money out at age 70 and a half, my response is, you should be taking that money out anyway. You should be enjoying it. That money is for retirement. You are retired. The retirement revolution, very simply, is getting people to realize that it's okay to spend money once you retire. A lot of people struggle with the idea that while they're working and saving money, that's very natural to them. They've built up a habit over the years of working hard, saving money, putting money away, investing money. They get that. But then retirement shows up, and suddenly they're at a stage in their life where, wait a minute, I'm not making any more money. I'm not making an income. I'm getting Social Security. Where's the rest of the money going to come from? When do I get to start spending this savings? I was just talking to somebody yesterday. It's very difficult for many baby boomer retirees to begin spending their savings. And why is that? Because they're scared. They're scared of running out of money. They're scared of outliving their money. And because of that, they err on the side of caution. They err way too far on the side of caution and don't spend any money unless they absolutely have to. So, when I do financial planning for people, when I sit down with people and design plans, I have a very specific focus. And that very specific focus is, how do we get the most life out of this money? It's not about how much we can grow it and defer it until the end of your life. We're not trying to get you to die as rich as possible. That is not my intention. As a planner, as an advisor, my intention is, okay, we have all of these financial pieces to your puzzle. Once you retire, how do we fit everything together in a way that makes sense to you and gets the most bang for your buck, right? Like, how do we put all of these pieces together and create a comprehensive and cohesive plan that allows you to live the life that you deserve? Okay, let me give you a very specific example. Let's say Mr. and Mrs. Smith retire at age 65. And I ask them, when are you going to start spending the $500,000 that you have saved up in your retirement accounts? And again, a lot of people will answer that question. Well, I guess we'll start spending that if we absolutely need to. And I know we have to start spending that money when the government forces us to at 70 and a half. And my answer to them is, okay, so we're going to let the government tell us when and how much money we can spend? That doesn't make any sense. Why don't we actually look at the investments and the money itself and determine how much money we can safely take out now, right? We don't need to worry about what the government tells us what to do. Mr. and Mrs. Smith at age 65 with $500,000 in investments, they have to come to terms with the fact that a lot of retirees, when they reach their 80s and 90s, look back in their life and say, what in the heck was I waiting for? Why was I waiting so long to spend my own money? I have more money than I've ever had in my life. The government data backs this up. The government data is very clear. People on average are dying with nearly twice as much money as they had on the day that they retired. That's according to a consumer survey done by the Federal Reserve. So the real issue is not whether or not the government is forcing you to take money out of the accounts. The real issue is people are waiting too long to take money out of these accounts anyway. If Mr. and Mrs. Smith at age 65, if they have $500,000 in their retirement savings, guess what? They should start spending some of that money now, right? They need to empower themselves. They need to allow themselves to live the best life possible now. Now, we don't want to mortgage your future. You need to go through a financial planning process where we make sure that even if you live to be 100 years old, you're going to be okay. But Mr. and Mrs. Smith, $500,000. The rule of thumb, the retirement revolution's rule of thumb, is you need to start spending 5% of your retirement account balance each and every year. So in addition to that, we cannot just have the money sitting in cash, obviously. The money needs to continue to work for you. So part one is you need to invest your money into a diversified portfolio of stocks and bonds with at least half of the money in stocks. Okay, so we're assuming that you've done that. We're assuming that you have the money in a diversified portfolio of stocks and bonds with at least half of the money in stocks. And then you start taking out 5% of the account value. So Mr. and Mrs. Smith with $500,000 can get out $25,000 a year, or about $2,000 a month. I usually recommend people take it monthly. Just like when you were working, you're getting a paycheck monthly, you really should be getting a retirement income check monthly. So they start taking out $2,000 a month right at 65. They don't wait until 70. They don't wait until the government tells them they have to take out that much. So when it comes to RMD time, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, when they turn 70 and a half, guess what? They don't need to worry about anything. They don't even need to calculate anything. They know everything's fine because the money that they have been taking out already is going to naturally satisfy the required minimum distribution. Simple. So they just take out their 5%, their 5%, their 5%. It's going to naturally satisfy that required minimum distribution. You don't need to think about it anymore. And guess what? Not only do you not have to worry about required minimum distributions, which really is a minor issue in the grand scheme of things, but you get to live the life that you deserve. You get the most life out of your money. You actually get, okay, I'm getting jazzed up now. The central tenet to the retirement revolution is that people are no longer, and this is happening so much now, but it's going to stop. People are no longer going to walk around the rest of their lives saying, I hope I don't outlive my money. I'm not going to spend any money unless I absolutely have to. I'm not going to take that trip to visit the grandkids because we might end up going bankrupt. Even when people do spend some money, it like hurts. They spend some money and they're like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. This is hard. I've built up these habits all of these years. But I have great news. I have really great news. If you have retirement savings, as soon as you retire, if you start taking out 5% of the account balance per year, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Can I guarantee that? No, I cannot guarantee that. But I can point to data, statistics, and history. I can say truthfully, based on data and statistics and history, that if you retired at any time in the past 80 plus years, right? If you retired in 1940, 1950, 1960, doesn't matter what year, 1990, 1999, 2005, doesn't matter what year. And you start taking out 5% of your account value, assuming it's invested the way I discussed, you're not going to run out of money. In fact, you're going to end up with at least what you started with, or at least historically speaking, that has never not been true. Another way of putting this is if Mr. and Mrs. Smith with $500,000, if they do not start taking out 5% of their account value each year, they will die with more than $500,000. I can't guarantee it, but it's never not been true. And that's very simply because a diversified portfolio of stocks and bonds with at least half of the money in stocks has never not returned at least 5% over time on average. So if you look over the span of your retirement, 10, 20, 30 years, the stocks and bonds have never not returned at least 5% on average. If you take out 5%, all that's happening is you're taking the money that the money is making. Take that trip. Redo that kitchen. Spoil your grandkids. Do something fun with it, right? The retirement revolution, the entire concept that surrounds the retirement revolution is the fact that money doesn't mean anything unless you start using it. And like I said, of course you want to make sure you're not mortgaging your future, but the vast majority of the baby boomers in this country who have saved money. Now remember, half of the country has not saved money for retirement. I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to the 50% of the country that has saved money for retirement. And it doesn't matter if it's 100,000, 200,000, or 2 million. The concept is the same. As soon as you retire, you need to start spending money from your retirement savings, 5% of the account value. Stop worrying about required minimum distributions. It's going to come out in the wash. It's not going to matter. So instead of being frustrated that you can't continue to defer all of your retirement savings indefinitely, I want you to empower yourself to discover how to live your best life now. Now, how can you learn more about this? Well, go to the website, kennonfinancial.com, Kennon financial.com. I have dozens and dozens of articles. I have dozens and dozens of radio shows. There are videos. There is all kinds of information, all kinds of backup information that you're going to need to really do this. The other thing that you can do, which I would recommend strongly, is attend one of my classes. Every month I teach a retirement revolution class, which goes over very specifically how to do this. I mean, we actually do your financial plan in the class. Everyone sits in their own little areas. They all have their financial planning worksheet in front of them. And we walk through an actual retirement plan that is actionable, that is concrete, that is simple, understandable, logical, and it's going to bring all these pieces together in a way that you understand, and it's going to allow you to start living the life that you deserve. This is my passion. This is my mission in life. I'm a little crazy. This is all I think about. It bothers me that retirees are not getting the best retirement out of their lives, right? They are sabotaging their own retirements just because they have some common misconceptions that need to be cleared up, and just because they're waiting too long to spend their money. This is great news. Everything I have is great news. The news is fantastic. You may be in much better financial shape than you realize for retirement. And again, go to the website, come to one of my classes. You can sign up for the classes on the website, kennonfinancial.com, KENNON financial.com. It's like John Lennon with a K, KENNON financial.com. And also, if you could, review and rate this podcast on iTunes. If you're listening to this on iTunes, that really helps me out. That gets the word out, because this is a national movement. It's starting in Sarasota, Florida, on the Gulf Coast of Florida. It's already starting to spread locally, and we're taking the country over. We are going to redefine the retirements of an entire generation. We're going to take away the fear, and we're going to replace it with empowerment, with understanding. And the awesome news is, for most people, it means you're going to get to live a better lifestyle than you may have thought in the first place. It was great talking to you guys again. If you're watching this on YouTube, hello. I do have these podcasts in video form on YouTube if you would ever like to watch those. Again, just go to the Retirement Revolution channel to watch those. And please, if you could subscribe and rate those as well, because that always helps me. So until next week, be blessed.